Hey everybody, welcome back to Young Money Real Estate. In this episode, I'm joined by Ryan Brooks. Ryan Brooks is someone that went from dropping out of college to having a six-figure Airbnb business. And in this episode, we talk about building freedom without a 9 to 5, investing while traveling the world, and why sometimes you need to pay to learn, even if that means working for free. This has by far been one of my favorite conversations, and I think you'll see why. Now, with that being said, let's get straight to it.
There we go.
There you go. Hey,
Perfect.
how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Thank you for taking some time to speak with me. I'm really excited to
Yeah.
ask questions. That's any
Yeah, of
questions?
course. Should I do anything with my little light deal back there? Anything else?
No, I got my bed in the background. You're good.
Okay, cool.
You're good. When Keith was telling me about you and your story, I was like, yes, I need to speak with you. I need to.
Heath probably talks me up too much. So,
Well, before we dive into real estate, I know you've been to like some amazing countries. Which one's been your favorite to live or work in?
yeah. Well, yeah, just some background. So kind of I don't know, the first kind of I went to college, I did the normal thing. And then I dropped out at 19. Um, and then tried to figure out some stuff, went military, and then that's when I started exploring some countries on my own and whatnot. I'd been to, I don't know, just like Canada and Mexico before. Um, so then started just working for free for a bunch of people, which brought me to Panama. And then I bounced around and ended up getting married shortly after that, actually. And then went to 10 countries our first year of marriage. So we bounced around everywhere. So we lived in three of them. So 4 months, 4 months, 4 months. There's some tax benefits to living out of the country. And then, yeah, just visited. So we did like the UK and then hit a couple countries around there. And then we did Korea, hit a couple countries around there. And then we did Thailand and hit a couple around there. So, yeah. So
I mean, okay, so which one of those would you say is your favorite?
it's all different chapters, all different stuff. I was single in one of the countries in Panama, and that was a work thing. I worked out of a jungle office for a little bit, which sounds really cool. It just means that you're in a jungle without walls, and they have solar power Wi-Fi, so Wi-Fi goes out after dark. Um, so a lot of it sounds cooler than it was, but it was like Jumanji in the jungle there in Panama for a little bit. Um, and then yeah, traveling with my wife and my parents have joined for a couple different countries. I think they've joined us in 5 countries now. Um, and then one of my best friends since third grade, he actually lived with us in Thailand. I just called him up and said, "Hey, I've been working for free for a lot of business stuff, and I have too many opportunities to know what to do with. Do you want to just quit your job and move out here, and we'll kind of cover rent and like $1,000 a month and just live in Thailand with us for 4 months?" And he was like, "Sure." So quit his job and moved out. Um, so I met him at a hotel in Thailand. Like met up with him there. So I hadn't seen him in like 3 or 4 months, and just he just flew to Thailand. So just some cool stuff like that.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Oh my God. So I guess when people ask what do you do, how would you answer that?
Well, now I have more of a standard-ish. Um, for I thought there was 5 career choices. So I thought my parents were both like counselors and whatever. So I thought you could be a counselor. I thought you could be a teacher because I was in middle school, high school, so that's what I saw everywhere. I thought you could work at the grocery store because I saw those people. I thought you could be a computer guy and then a professional athlete. So I did lots of sports and whatever. So all of that. And I didn't think that there was much else. And out of all those, computer guys sounded the best. So that was the route I went. And the only other computer guy I knew was my cousin. And so I went to the same college that he did, went to go be a computer guy, and it was not what I was looking for. So I remember showing up to a coding class, and people were dressed as anime characters and everything else, and I was like, I haven't coded before, and these guys are playing the video games that they've coded. This is like basic stuff. So, um, anyway, so with all of that, then I was actually told by the department head there, which ironically was my cousin's his favorite teacher. He told me I should look to do a different career because I'm not meant to be working with computers. Basically, I couldn't code well. I'm very dyslexic and a couple other things, which makes it very hard to do that. Um, so I tried to switch over to like business IT, and I didn't care for it. I was learning about the different types of freaking icebergs and stuff, and I was like, I just don't care. There's three different types, by the way. So there's freshwater icebergs, there's saltwater icebergs, and then the third one I don't even remember. So, but I was learning that stuff and was like, I just don't care. So, um, then I kind of just dropped out and went to go do other stuff. But basically, I ended up ironically getting into cybersecurity and doing computer stuff. Um, so just different computer stuff because there's so much out there. And then I didn't even know that what I'm currently doing was a path that you could even take. So, because until you really see someone else doing it, you just assume that, I don't know, I just needed to expand my mindset in that sense and get exposure to different things. So, I got hooked on the world of business and been chasing that ever since just because you can really create and build whatever you want in it and actually have the most impact. Because I don't know, like people say, like you got checkers and chess, and I don't know, people might fight me over this, but you got like checkers, you can only move certain ways. There's rules to the game. And chess, you're like, oh, there's so many more chess moves than you can make than checkers. Sure, but there's still rules. There's still a game board. I prefer to move differently. So, I don't know, just taking that approach to different things. It feels like school in that structure is checkers and then chess. Like, oh, go to college, do something else. Like, look at all the things you can do. Like, yeah, you can get a million different degrees, but you're still playing that same game. So, you're still getting a degree to go work for someone and go do some job and show up and be expected to told what to do instead of figure out what you're supposed to do. Um, and even the workday stuff. I know kind of a thing that makes adolescents and adults I'll use that word differently, but adolescents need a list of things to do. It's that mindset. People, I know a lot of people that are very good. If you tell them what to do, they'll do it, but they won't go do stuff on their own independently because they can't create that list for themselves. And because of that, that's a huge distinction. There's plenty of adults that can't do that either. So, but it's the difference of mindset shift of, okay, I want to go create something. What actually needs to be done for this versus, oh, I want this result. Someone tell me how to do it and tell me all the little things to do. And that's what school feeds in and everything else because we're expected to listen to all that. So, I didn't even answer your question. Currently, I I'm I guess, director of operations, but you can give any title to a small business thing. So I do digital marketing operations and tech for online real estate coaching business that does events and whatever. And then I manage some Airbnbs, and then I do a little bit of infinite banking life insurance wealth strategy on the side, which all sounds more complicated than what it is. So.
Infinite banking. It's like a whole different world. I need to learn about it one day.
Yeah, yeah. It's been 4 years for me, and I'm still trying to figure out what it is. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
But I'm the same way. Like I'm 19, I'm in college for business, and when I just go into my classes and what I'm learning, it's like so demotivating.
yeah. So I dropped out after my first year. Um, I just, well, a couple different things, but I just leaned into the sadness and the frustration, and I've learned the most from sadness and frustration for me. I don't really do anger; I more go to sadness, but. Um, I just sat in that forever and was like, I just processed through so much stuff and was like, what do I actually want? Like, what actually matters? What do I care about? Like, there's the whole, dropping out of college is daunting. Like, my parents sacrificed this so I could be here, and this is that, and whatever else, and future, and whatever. I remember doing a job search in college. Like, what else is out there? What can I actually get? I worked on a farm. And I did a paper boy thing. Like I was like, what job experience do I have? Who wants to hire me? And so I looked online with that, and I was just looking for opportunity. I didn't put a location search, and I found ironically, it was a they always do this, but it's consulting. It was a Atlas Consulting with unlimited opportunity. Basically, you could just go, and the harder you work, the more result you got. And it was around people and looked exciting and whatever else, but I didn't put a location on it. So it was in Denver, Colorado. So I grew up in Oregon. So I was like, I don't actually know how far away Denver is or really where it is. So I just like kind of threw an application. It ended up to be door-to-door sales, but I threw everything I owned in my little car and drove out there. So I drove like 27 hours or something it took to get there, and then I just started doing door-to-door sales. Just something different. I ended up hating it, but that was fine. And then one of the guys I sold to, he actually offered me a job before I'd quit. So I called him up and was like, "Hey, you still got that job?" So I did that for a little bit, and then I bumped into a military Marine recruiter at the grocery store, and he's like, "Do you want more out of your life?" Blah blah blah. Well, you're kind of a dick, but I'll go talk to you. So I did. So I went in their office and talked to him, and I was like, "Okay, the military has something. There's something to be said, well, for me personally, but get paid to learn. Um, School it has it backwards. You always pay to learn. Ever since I dropped out of school, I always got paid to learn. The military was literally like, you want to go to IT school, get real world experience. Because before I was looking like I don't have a whole lot. I worked at Coca-Cola stocking grocery stores and stuff for 6 months. So I did that, and you're like, there has to be more to life than this. Like, great, I mastered all the adult stuff, got my own apartment, did all my stuff, but then I was like, there has to be something else. And so I was like, okay, I think I want to go back into computers. How am I going to do this different? Like, okay, I'll study different. I'll do all this. And then again, I bumped into them, and they're like, yeah, we'll literally pay you to go get the education, hands-on experience. You don't have to learn about icebergs. You'll be learning, you'll actually be doing the job. Like, we're going to pay you to work a job that you don't qualify for, and we're going to pay you to train and get clearance stuff and all these other things. So I was like, that sounds great. So that's kind of how I jumped into that. And I joined, I went and talked with kind of all the branches. I walked into the wrong office. I was trying to find the Army recruiters, and I walked in the National Guard, which is basically the Army Reserves. So I only worked 1 week in a month. I got the full training, and then I got to kind of do 1 week in a month, and then you do 2 weeks in the summer. And so I signed a 6-year contract. So pretty much the first 9 months were training. I went and did the boot camp stuff, did the specialized training, learned all that on tools and whatever, got certifications, and then went back into the real world. Um, and then I actually went back to school because I was like, you're supposed to go to school and whatever. I did that 4 different times, so I dropped out of 4 schools. But I went back, and so I was working um, 1 week in a month doing the actual stuff, and then I was learning the basic, photosynthesis of science and all the stuff that didn't matter. And then there was like one or two like IT courses that I was doing. Um, and the pivotal thing, I even got a part-time job. So I didn't have a car. I lived in downtown Denver, but where I lived was kind of a student housing, so they would shuttle you to campus. So I got a job on campus, um, which I actually got that job. It was with the IT department. I was like, I want to work for the IT department. And so, being dyslexic and having a hard time trying to figure out their website of how to apply for a job, I just submitted a help desk ticket on my student account asking for a job. And then they called me and was like, yeah, you can come in for an interview. I was like, cool. So I set my interview as like my help ticket. And then went in and interviewed. I met the guy that actually processed my ticket and then gave it up to the manager. So I worked there for a little bit. I was answering the calls, nothing glorious. It was the hi, this is Ryan from the MSU help desk. I'm resetting your password because you forgot it. Like, how can I help? Kind of deal. And I remember one day my manager walked in, um, and they had these nice corner offices, the Windows suite and everything else. She's like, yeah, like if you work here for 15 years, like you can get in one of those offices. Like those guys in there, they did exactly what you did. They're getting the same degree that you're doing. They did the same job. They worked all the way up, and now they have those. They got nice six-figure jobs. And I was just like, they look miserable every day they walk in here. They're overweight, they're poor tempered. It doesn't look like they got good relationships. Like I am on that path. You're telling me I'm following them exactly. So like a week later I quit. I was like I'm not doing that. Like that's where I was going. So um some of that foresight has been helpful. Um and then yeah, it was, minimum wage, whatever, student work stuff. And then a year after that, I was actually making six figures at Nike. So that was just
How
the
old?
21. So when my buddies were still in college, about to graduate, and I had a solid job already. So they were trying to look for internships, and I was in. So that it took a couple other job iterations, certifications. I paid my own expenses to go get certifications, and people were like, "Why would you do that?" I'm like, "You just paid 50,000 for a semester of school. I paid 10,000 for a cert that then does more than your degree, and I did it in 4 months versus anyway." So all those different things is kind of how some of that happened.
So you think it would be better for me to invest into like a certification?
Um, well, and business is different. IT and cyber. So I'd switched from IT to cyber, and that was what I was doing over at Nike. So I was a part of their um, NCDC, Nike Cyber Command Center. I don't remember what it is anymore. Wow. Um, it's well, okay. Back on the point of get paid to go get experience. So joining the military, they paid me for it. When I went and worked for free for different people, um, I wasn't paying for it, one, and then some of it compensation was built in. In my current role, um, I'm getting paid to learn. So the guy that I'm working with, he just cares like, just go after this, just pour into it. And he'll resource me. So have a couple of VAs hired and whatnot. Um, and then if the stuff does well, it's commission based. So I make money. He's a coach that people paid a ton of money to go get coaching from, and I get to meet with him every day and get some of that coaching and get paid to do it technically. So as much as I can, I've tried to put into different things. If you want to learn sales, you can either go take a certification course on sales or you can go get a job on sales. They will train you and pay you to do the same thing that you would learn otherwise. So, just some of those things. Yeah, it's not the glorious job, it's grunt work, it's whatever else, but you'd be amazed at how quick you can move up because most people, well, don't care to move up or don't actually put the effort into. So, um, I've always worked into a job, got promoted fast at the job, and then either exited when it got boring or something else. Until I actually found this one that I don't see that being an issue. But a lot of people for new business things are different that they're trying to learn. Like it's either them learn it or they'll pay you to go learn it. And then you can apply value to them, definitely reward them and apply value, but then you can also, that stays with you. So, yeah.
Can you tell me what did it actually look like when you started doing real estate while traveling?
Yeah. So I already had my real estate when I traveled. So I was making a good money. This was after Nike. I left for a promotion during COVID. Oregon shut down. Arizona was wide open. So I moved from Oregon to Arizona. And so I was there living in a nice apartment. You got water fountains in the pool. You got the hot tub. You got fire pit. You got movie theater at the complex. Really nice gym. It was a brand new thing. I had a new car. Like I had all the stuff. Uh, Good gym workout. Like living the dream there. I was 22 at that point. Um, and I was just like, there has to be more than this. Work was not challenging. I probably worked 10 hours a week. I was just pretty much on call and got paid way more than I should have for that, just because of the certifications and credentials that I had, um, which I just kind of was lucky with landing that, honestly. Um, but I was like, there has to be more than this. Like, I can't, I have all this freedom, but it's also an illusion because I can't just not work tomorrow. Like, that's the freedom that I was looking for. I want to take 3 days off and just go do whatever I want and not have to really tell anyone or do whatever. And that wasn't really an option. Um, and so then I was looking into stuff and read Rich Dad Poor Dad and did that whole thing. Um, and one of my other good buddies, he had already bought some real estate. I actually went through basic training with him and different things. So a military guy. And so I was talking with him almost every day. And I was like, I think I'm just gonna buy a house. So I I'm the guy that like goes and I buy the thing day one. So like I was in touch with a couple of realtors, but like they couldn't show me the specific house. I just wanted someone to show up and show me a house. So I just found one and just found someone to show up and I just drove, the 20 minutes or whatever it was to go look at houses. I looked at like 7 houses that day and just bought one. Um I was just like to figure this out. One, I'm not going to let the little investment that's holding me back just put into it. So I did 5% down. So I bought a $200,000 house, 5% down. So whatever that is, 10 grand there. I think closing costs in total, it was something about 14, 15,000. Um, and then, yeah, I just had a house. And so I was like, okay. And so, because I was like, maybe if I do some house projects or whatever, I won't be bored. Um, and so I got a house, and then I ended up building a tiny house in the backyard, which is, yeah, I was like, how can I add revenue? Let me try to do an Airbnb. So I spent about 6 months. My dad came out. It was me, my dad, and I hired a couple contractors to do different things. And um, so we just ran plumbing out there and stood up electrical and got it all set up and turned it into an Airbnb. And I still remember the first time someone paid me to sleep in my backyard, which is it was weird. Um, so that was kind of the start of that, and then I got bored again because I was at the same job and was like, well, this was great and all, but like this isn't super fulfilling. I got another cert or two, um, and so then I was like, okay, let me. And I was single throughout this whole time. I ended up being single for about 6 years, or just over six, I think. Um, and so I was going on lots of dates and trying to prep for my future someone, but I was trying to figure out how to do that. I was like, okay, what if I want to get financially stable? I want to be able to where if they don't want to work, they don't have to. But how can I prep those things and when they come into my life, they will be a priority. So what is something now that's a priority that will shift that I could go do that's fun, exciting, whatever else. So I was trying to do the financial stability part. It was like investing now for later. I totally get that. Um, so then I was looking like, well, let me just move to another country. And so I actually, with my job, they had open positions. It was government contracting through the Army. So it was working at regional cyber commands, and they have those, I think there's 7 of them. So they got Europe, Asia, Pacific, all over. And so they were going to move me over to the Europe one. So I actually then was working in the middle of the night, like 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. I think was my shift. Um, so I worked that for 3 to 4 months, and right as they were processing my paperwork to actually send me, they found out I was too young to work there. German law did not allow me to because I needed 8 years of experience to work in that, and I was 24 at that point. And so they were like, "Can you just like put on your resume that you worked a couple more?" And I was like, "I'm not actually old enough. Like, you can't put anything below 18." And I couldn't make it work. So they were like, "Oh." And so they had already kind of like backfilled my other role. And so they were like, well, Korea's open. Do you want that? I was like, sure. They're like, it comes with a pay boost too. So I'd gotten 2 big pay boosts just for taking on these other roles because I was able to. And then Korea it took 9 months for me to actually go there, I believe. So during that time, I moved. Um, that's when I did some Panama stuff. I lived in a van in California for a little bit, working for a farmer business guy. Um, and then my shift was in Korea, so I would start work at like 4 p.m. to midnight. So I'd work a business job. I'd go learn basically, help out, volunteer with the business guy, and then at night I'd be in my van hotspotting off my phone. So I did that for a couple weeks, but just trying to soak up as much as possible. Just try to go be useful to people and go above and beyond. And so I had the financial means to do that, which was cool. And then during that time, so I thought I was going to Germany, and so I had bought another house that was another duplex. And in Arizona, we call them casitas. They're mother-in-law suites or ADUs, additional dwelling unit. So a separate parking in the back with a gate and whatever else. So basically buying two Airbnbs with one mortgage, one internet bill, one power bill. Um, so I bought that Airbnb, stood that one up in a month, and then listed it thinking I was going to leave, and then I didn't leave. And then 6 months later, I bought another one that I moved into, and then stood up those two, and that one was a more traditional duplex. Thought I was leaving for Korea and then didn't, and that's when I kind of moved to Panama. And then I actually just bounced around on my friends' couches, just hanging out because I was like, oh, cool, I want to go hang out with this friend. And then once, you're there for like a week and whatever, and then it starts to feel the same, then I would just jump over to a different friend. So went to New York, did Spartan race in Boston with a buddy. Went to Utah for another Spartan race, went up to Canada for my buddy's birthday, like just kind of bounced around. So remote work, and then the Airbnbs were hard, but once they were up, then managers were a bit tricky there for a little bit, but then I found a really good manager, and then they just ran themselves. And I could have, for the three mortgages and what I was making, I was living on about 20% of my salary. So the other 80% could cover. If Airbnb brought in zero, I could cover all three mortgages. So I was sitting pretty at that point. So, and then again, you kind of feel empty because you're like, is this all there is? Like, did I win the game? Like, what is this? And then, yeah, then met my wife actually when I was in Panama. We got connected. She went to middle school with my younger brother. And so she was actually in Idaho and I was in Panama when we started talking. Um, and then flew out, met her, hung out, and then I ended up flying back, and then we started dating, and then a month later we were engaged, and then 3.5 months later we got married, and then 2 days after that we left for Korea. So in about 3.5 to 4 months, it was meet in person, and then off to a completely other country in an opposite time zone. So then we did Korea for 4 months, and then my job tied me to Korea, so I eventually had went. And then she had a internship at or a study abroad at Oxford. So we quit my job and then went to Oxford together. And then that's when I was trying to figure out other jobs and other work to do and whatever else. So I kind of laid a foundation before I quit. Um, and in my head, it was I'm not going to have a job. I'm going to say I quit my job. I did that. Like I did the thing. And then I'm realizing now it's not the job isn't a bad thing. I have another job now. It's the W-2 mindset that I left. It's the I didn't want to go back to, I just go get my paycheck, I go do whatever. Like I'm working in the business as a job. My job role is in the business, and that's what I've kind of picked up. I did contracting stuff. I did a whole bunch of other things, and I was working in the middle of the night overseas for different stuff. So when I was working with Keith and whatever, it would be my meeting was at 2 a.m. type deal with him. So my schedule was completely flipped, and I joined mastermind groups. I did that whole thing. Um, so I flew back for every conference because I value in-person stuff and whatever. So just I invested in relationships and people. And ironically, one of the events I flew back for, I met the guy I'm currently working with now. Um, and he was on stage as a speaker, and I just bumped into him in the crowd and was talking. And I'm in his phone as Ryan Korea guy because I came from Korea. So the next time that we had met up, which was a while ago, he was like, "Wait, I thought you were Korean." I was like, "No, not at all." So um, that was a good time. But yeah, so that was um, kind of the real estate, and then I just had a really good manager in place, and I just built systems. So it's not even some automation crazy thing. It's just like I have someone, I pay them 20% and they take care of everything. So there's a group chat that him and my cleaner is in, and they just talk about all the daily stuff that needs to happen, and he just sends me receipts. Um, and then money comes in, money goes out of the bank account, and it just kind of runs. So I don't have to do anything for that. So that was set up when I left. So when I was in Panama, I didn't buy my last house. I went from Panama to buy another house. And that one, my realtor picked me up from the airport and we bought a house that day. So I had lined it up for like 2 weeks. I was like, I'm coming in, like, this is my time schedule. Like, I have to be out of here in 3 weeks. Like, I need a house purchased and whatever. So I flew in, landed, went, saw a couple houses, picked one, bought it, went, moved in. And for Airbnb, people don't expect new furniture. So I had the furniture stores that I regularly went to and whatever. And so they're estate sale stores and secondhand stores. So you buy the Amazon bed in one of my places broke, and you can buy these really nice actual wood beds for half the cost. And so I was buying stuff at these places, and I remember, so I'd kind of pre-buy stuff knowing I was closing on a property, and so I went in to one place and I was like, okay, I'll take that, and I need this bed and that queen bed and whatever else, and then I was like, is this all that you have? They're like, well, we actually just pulled up with a truck. So I go out and it's a semi truck loaded with furniture because they go and pick up stuff from estate sales stores all the time. And so I was like, can I take a look? They're like, sure. So I jump in and I'm looking at stuff. I'm like, I'll take everything except for the alligator bed frame. So they literally unloaded that and drove the semi to my house and unloaded everything. And so, super cost effective and whatever else. So I built relationships with these people. I have 3 places that I hit up in Tucson, which is where my places are. And I just went and I would buy different stuff. So I have $1,400 mattresses for $200. So like guests, way better on guests and everything else. Like you don't expect a bed to be new that no one else has slept on it. Like, yeah, we just are going to clean it and do a mattress protector and you're set. So like some of those things, you don't need furniture that's not, nicked or touched or whatever. Like you don't expect that when you go to a hotel. So, anyways, just being cost efficient and frugal with those things. And then I was too young when I was setting up my Airbnbs to get a rental car or anything. So I would just do U-Hauls. And so instead of doing a rental car, I would do U-Haul. It's a lot cheaper actually. So I would do the U-Haul van or just the 10 by 10 and kind of like lived out of that for a little bit driving around. So um, just because they'll ding you like $50 a day for being below 25. So just random things.
That just save you money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, can you tell me how did you find the Airbnb deals? Like, what did you see?
I don't even know if they were deals. Are you familiar with dollar cost averaging?
I've heard about it.
Yeah, so it's kind of where you instead of okay, if you have a day to put in the stock market, instead of putting $365 in on a specific day that you're guessing, you put $1 in a day. And so what happens, the market goes up and down, and if you put a dollar in every day, you catch it on all those, and you'll do better than trying to time it with hitting it on a certain spot. So, and real estate, I believe it always goes up to some extent. There's how fast and how whatever and everything else. So I knew I just wanted to purchase places. Um, and on paper, it looks really sexy. I have a 6-figure Airbnb business that makes like 220 grand a year. It's awesome. Yeah, I see like 5% of that personally. So I get like 20 out of it or something. Um, and that just gets eaten up by everything. That's what my little thing says, but I think it's less. I've had a loss almost every year, but I can afford to take those losses. What most people don't realize about real estate, and do you know what the 1% rule is? Yeah, so most people they shoot for the 1% rule, they shoot for all that. But the only thing with that is that you're looking at cash flow. There's a great YouTube video I can send you after. It's the 3 other ways besides cash flow that a property makes money. Um, Basically, there's so many other elements that are into it. Um, and then there's the appreciation benefit. Like, okay, over 10 years, let's say I cash flow, you know, uh, 2 grand a month, so 24,000 a year. That's like 250 grand or whatever over 10 years. But your property, if you look at any property over the last 10 years, it's gone up way more than that. In most markets. And so typically, even if you're just breaking even on a property, you'll make more with the other, or you can even go negative. It's just depending on what job or what other stuff you have for it. So that was kind of the principle that I was going off of, was that over time, there's some market that I can sell this that's going to be worth way more than any cash flow I'm going to get out of it. I'm not going to retire on, you know, and my buddy and I were talking about this the other day, but um, like we've done a lot of business stuff and put in a lot of work for 2,000 extra a month. And I was like, yeah, if we worked really, really hard, we could get 4,000 a month. That's not going to change my job status and my freedom status. So the thing that will is, have you ever played the cash flow board game, Rich Dad Poor Dads? It's a great.
No.
There's a free online version too. Um, but basically, you play the game and you just play it, and it's like normal market type stuff. You get these houses that, and it's a little dated, so it's like 2000s. So you get like $100 cash flow a month from things. But what really happens, you could buy 40 rental properties and have all those flowing, and you won't exit the rat race. It's making more than your expenses passively. Or you can, and there's different strategies. So again, try it out like it's real life simulating. It's pretty cool. But basically, or you can purchase all these properties that cash flow very little or even negative, but then you wait for an opportunity to sell them, and then you use the bulk of the sell to purchase a cash flowing business. Businesses cash flow way more than real estate and properties. So all you're doing is trading, real estate, which is just land at the end of it. But um, just different things that, like, everyone thinks you can get cash flow and be great with it. I did some coaching for a little while. One of my clients, his retirement plan was to buy 30 rental properties and run them all himself, and that was going to be his relaxing retirement. I don't know. I managed 6 places for a while and was like, this is awful. I couldn't imagine having 5 times more than that, and then thinking I'm retired at that point. Oh, the water heater broke here. Oh, this. So um, I don't see that as the option. I see a business, and you can do some stuff with real estate, but you have to outsource the management, which he was not willing to do at that point. I was like, okay, I'll help you hit your goal, but like that sounds awful. So, anyways,
Wait, so you had someone just running all your Airbnbs for you. All you had to do was just buy the house.
yeah, yep. So I set him up, and then I actually knew some people through kind of networking, so we grabbed a couple more properties. So I think on my management software we have like 14 in Tucson. I have 6 of those personally. He manages all of them. So any lead that I get like a cut of it, and then he gets the majority. But every month I get a little bit from finding those and plugging them into my system. And it's kind of a win-win there. I did look at standing up a management company and then just having all my friends buy houses and I would just run them. But really, the cash flow numbers, it's really hard to hit. If you think about a property, and how city do you live? Are you a pretty expensive area?
I'm in like the DFW area in Texas.
Okay, yeah. So, okay, we'll use that as an example. What do you think rent is for a 1 to 2 bedroom house where you are at? Any idea?
Depends on the house, you know?
Sure, but just okay, like Phoenix is where I'm at. It's like anywhere from 1,500 to 2,500 is probably your range of rent. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah,
Okay, and then what do you think is like a house value?
200,000.
Okay, all right, Texas is great. Okay, so 200,000. So out here, gosh, we're 400s, 3 to 400s would be on your low end. And you could probably, those ones you'd rent for like the 1,500 probably. Um, so what I'm getting at is in most markets, and my buddy's starting real estate in Seattle, the math doesn't math. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to buy a 700 for him because I have his numbers off the top of my head. I'm going to buy a $750,000 house, and it's a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, nice house. Great. Your mortgage, if you take like 8% of that, um, that's pretty close to like a 7 grand mortgage. I don't know if you're going to pay 7 grand of rent for a 3 bedroom house. And so out here, it's the same thing. So my property's 3,500 for the mortgage. It's like, okay, so I have to get a $1,500 lease and then a $2,000 lease. So that's why I actually rolled mine into Airbnb because I could survive in a market that it was harder for other people to do. But it's not a very sexy proposition to present to people and go like, yeah, you want to spend a bunch of money to invest in real estate and you make $100 a month, maybe. So that was where I was kind of like strategy shift. Um, and really, the other reason, so looking at all that, I was like, in my high paying job, I was like, okay, so I can either make a bunch of money and then see the things I did learn from those useless physics classes and whatever, but everything has waste. Every time you move something, it has waste. So you go to your job. I was studying cyber, so I put all my energy into cyber, and then I'd make money, and then you can either A, give it to someone, so then you're paying a fee on top of it for them to go do your Airbnb or whatever, or you can go figure it out. So then you're split energy because you're over here trying to invest in cyber and then also trying to understand real estate. And then your dollars just don't stretch very far once you get to the end of buying the actual house, buying the furniture, setting everything up. So I was just seeing like, okay, I want to give my time, which was my time and energy to do cyber and then out pop um, passive income. That's always the dream. That's really what you're looking for is, well, that's what most people are looking for is I want to put effort here and then have this thing come out. But then the thing is that they set so many hurdles in between that then by the time it reaches there, it just doesn't do much. And so I was able to purchase all these houses and thought it was great. I have not been paid really at all. And it's been 3.5, 4 years. And so what I decided was, okay, great. If I have all this energy to put, one, I don't really want to put it into cyber. That was just the thing that pays a lot of money that then does all these other things. What if I just go here and work for the asset? So I worked directly for passive income. So in Panama, that's what I was doing. It was an oil venture that didn't succeed, but I was working directly for an asset. And then through business stuff and other things, it's how can I work under my asset? So all my efforts actually go into that. And that's the don't work for money thing. You're working for the end asset. And that was a choice. Anyway, so that's been eye-opening for me of working directly for the thing that would actually produce the thing I want, which makes more sense. I can actually put energy into like then I did the infinite banking whatever. Like this thing's paying me to learn more about this thing that benefits me. Like, whoa, that's way better than learning about, DNS codes and all the different port numbers and whatever. Like that doesn't unless you care about that. I was like, no, I'm after this thing. I care about learning so I can learn in a bunch of different ways. So I wanted to learn under the financial breadth of everything else. So working with Keith, I was getting paid to learn from a guy who's been really successful in a lot of different ways. And so I was able to learn a bunch and be in rooms and network with people that are at where I want to get in certain ways. And so I was getting paid to do that, which I recommend.
How do you have a mortgage payment that's 3,500 first off?
It's a $500,000 house, and it's at 7.6%. And I only put 5% down because it was a primary residence because I lived there. So all the houses I bought were primary residence. So it's stupid expensive. So out of my two of my properties are one's 3,300, one's 3,600 mortgage. So my mortgages are close to 8, 9 grand a month. So that eats the cash flow, which some of that mortgage sure it rolls into equity and whatever else. In 10 years, they'll be great, is what I keep telling myself. But right now, yeah, it's just money out the door. So
Are those like rentals? Like you have people
yeah, so
staying?
they're all Airbnbs now.
Uh, and does
So
that cover the mortgage or no?
yeah, so it covers the mortgage and then it covers the other bills. So again, the Airbnbs are kind of barely breaking even, but that's one of my biggest. I have my little nice chart with graphs of different expenses, and yeah, I think it's 80% of my expense is mortgage. So mortgage also typically when you're like a primary residence, they roll in like your insurance and taxes and whatever. So it's technically mortgage, insurance, taxes is in one bucket. And then I have like maintenance, and then I got my management fee, and then I got my cleaning fee. And that kind of makes up what gets owed. But they do pretty well. So I use, yeah, automated pricing, automated whatever, and kind of tune that every month or whatever. We're seasonal here in Arizona, so the winter's great. Um, Spring and fall are okay, and then summer kind of sucks. So, and we're in summer right now, so it sucks. So,
Have you ever tried house hacking?
yeah, so that's, well, yeah, I guess technically. So you're supposed to put 20% down or 25% down for an investment property. So again, I stood up. So I bought a house in 2021. I think was my first one. And I bought a house every year since. Oh my gosh, yeah. I forgot I did Michigan cabins too. I stood up. Well, I'll answer your question. House hack. Yeah, I mean, it's just having a duplex is technically house hacking if you're renting. So when I lived in my first house and then rented out the backyard unit, so I was splitting that, but you know, I didn't house hack because I needed more income per month. Then I was like, oh, I want to go buy another one, and it was sometimes cheaper actually for me to go stay at someone else's Airbnb to stay at mine because of the money that I was losing. So if I rented my Airbnb out to someone else, my nightly rates were higher than a deal I could go find for someone else. So I could go rent for cheaper than what my place was. So the other thing that I think is a misconception. Everyone says go buy an Airbnb where you want to go. Go buy one next to Disney World. Go buy one in the mountains next to your ski resort or whatever. I'm like, don't, because you're gonna rob yourself money. It's much better to buy properties in a place that actually makes you money and then use that money to go and have a vacation and not have to worry about everything broken in your house. So, because most people, they're like, yeah, I want to live here, so I'm going to buy a house here and whatever. But like, don't go stay at your house. Go stay at someone else's. Like, have a place that makes money and don't interrupt your business, and then you go stay somewhere else. So, like, my houses are 2 hours south, and when I'd fly in and whatever, I'd only stay at one of my houses if it wasn't booked, and I'd sleep on the couch, so I didn't have to pay a cleaning fee because I didn't want to have to wash the sheets and make the bed and do all that. So I'd actually just like show up, look at which one wasn't booked, go sleep on the couch. Where it was still bookable, by the way, till a certain hour. So I'd stay up, and if someone booked it last minute, because I'd discount last minute to get people in, then I would just pack up my stuff and take off and go stay at someone else's Airbnb because my rate was higher. Sorry, you can always find a lower rate, and my standards are low. So, in that sense.
So that's actually that's crazy. Can you tell me about the Michigan cabins you were talking
Yeah.
about?
So, in Thailand at my usual work shift, so like 2 or 3 a.m. Um, I was, I tried to buy a motel in Tucson and failed. So the thing with the Airbnbs, um, they make money, but I just told you my mortgages are crazy. So I was like, okay, so they make a lot, but they also cost a lot. How can I actually get the cost down? I don't think I can make really much more out of what they currently are. I think they're doing pretty well, but I was like, you just can't build anything sustainable. And so I was going to buy a motel. It was a 20 unit hotel. They actually call them keys when it comes to hotels and motels, which I didn't know. So you got doors, keys, units, whatever else. Um, So I was going to purchase the motel and tried, and financing actually was difficult in that sense. But I was thinking if I had 20 units, they were all on Airbnb and modernized. My mortgage, it would be about 5,000, I think, a month for mortgage, which I was like, I could easily cover that. Doing some napkin math, it was whatever that is. It's 20 units. You call it at like, I don't know, even if it's 50% occupancy, so 15 nights a week or 15 nights a month. Um, and then at like, I think I could even cash flow if it was $30 at 50% occupancy a night, which is stupid crazy because most of the time the minimum is like 65 to 70 is what I would put. So it looked like it would have made money. I'm sure there would have been a bunch of stuff that would have went wrong in the rehab. Um, but yeah, so I couldn't get the funding to go through for that. Um, and again, I had quit my high paying job. Money is running out. Um, the one other thing about real estate and having a high paying job and doing Airbnb instead of regular real estate is the tax advantages. So you can pay next to nothing in taxes after making quite a bit of money through that. So money that would have evaporated. If I could buy real estate at an 80% discount because I got that money because I bought the property, that's when you start playing the game unfair. Because you're working, if you go to get a regular property, you don't get the same stuff because there's active and passive income. And those taxable incomes get hit different, but Airbnb moves it to active, so then it could hit my job. And so it was able to hit my job. And then since I had already moved to Korea and then Oxford, we had 8 months that we were living abroad. So I talked with my wife and was like, well, we can either move back to the States or we can get paid to go live in Thailand because of the tax savings that we'll get. So we were like, sure, let's do it. So while we were in Thailand, stressing about not having money, because whenever I went out to eat, I'm like, I'm working for free for quite a bit of that. And then I was working, we were spending more than I was making because it was very minimal in a new field. I was the junior guy. And I was desperately trying to figure it out. Um, and getting married, you add more expenses and you add all sorts of other stuff. So I was living one way before, and then expenses go up and income basically disappears. And so I was like, okay, so this is our runway of what we have. And then I was like, then I'll go get a cyber job if I can't get this going or get this. And so looking at jobs, I was also looking at properties, and I found one. I did a search on Crexy, which is the commercial real estate site of Zillow, basically. And so I did a look on Crexy, and I was looking for what would work on Airbnb. Okay, high units, low cost. And so did a special little search for that. And then I was looking in states that my wife and I would like to live in. So grew up in Oregon. She's open to California, like Florida, looked at Texas, I think, and then she has a bunch of family in Michigan. So I also looked in Michigan. And then I hadn't, I'm used to West Coast prices. East Coast and Central are different prices. So I found one, I thought it was a typo. I thought they were missing a zero on the end of it. So I was like, I'll just message them and whatever. And it was my favorite place out of the couple that I messaged. And I actually got a phone call back. And I was like, okay, cool. So I answered it, and then I talked to this agent for 50 minutes, I think, and was like, this is actually something we could do. And so I went and woke my wife up at 3 a.m. and was like, hey, you want to move to Michigan? She's like, why? I was like, I found a property. So it was 5 cabins, a house, and 27 storage units for 185 grand. And so yeah, I was like, this is great. So I did the napkin math and was like, yeah, our expenses will be what 2 Airbnbs are here, or almost one property, and we'll have 6 Airbnbs. That literally doubles my portfolio. I was like, that sounds awesome. Doubles the portfolio for, yeah, half the cost, pretty much, half the upkeep cost and whatever. So I was like, I'm pretty sure we could do this. And so had another call, whatever else. Her family's up in Alaska, so we went up there and then did a Zoom video walkthrough of the property with the real estate agent. and then we ended up closing while we were in Alaska. And so I had never been to Michigan. Um, so we went and landed back in the States, and we hadn't really been back. So her car hadn't been touched for a year. And I had gotten out of the army or out of the military while I was abroad. So flew back and drove through, picked up some of my military gear, saw a couple friends and whatever, and then just drove to Michigan to go see our new property that we bought. Um, and my thought when we were buying it, I was like, either I go get a job or I buy a job, and then the money would be allocated. So we got a hard money loan, um, and then I was like, yeah, we can allocate contractors, and I'll just work on the property. I'd rather do that than go get another cyber job because this gets me closer to where I want to go. And so, with that, we just drove all the way over there. And I remember being 8 minutes from our house, and we're still in the middle of nowhere. And we see a sign, and it's like a horse and buggy, like one of the yellow signs. And then we look over, and there's just the Amish walking on the side of the road. And I was like, where are we? And it's literally 8 minutes from our place. And so we keep driving, then we hit this little town, and we knew it was a small town. Hit this little town, take a left, and we're like, okay, well, they have a Save a Lot here. They have a Subway and a McDonald's, so that's cool. And then we drove to kind of the end, and there was our property. Um, and so yeah, so we just moved in there and started working. So everything was in our car. Um, and yeah, we were gonna give that like 6 months there to work on stuff. And yeah, I don't know if you want me to go more into what the property actually ended up being and all that stuff, but
Well, I have a question. So let's say someone who's listening right now has like 10 grand saved up and they're really serious about getting into real estate. What would you tell them to start doing now, like this month, to really get moving?
get educated and find a work opportunity, even if it costs you money. I've sometimes paid money to work for free for people. Um, so because things cost money. Um, you know, you doing this, you might have to pay a subscription for the exactly. You pay the subscription. Okay, let me get the new mic. Let me do this. Like you're not making money off this. Like what? Like you're gonna have to choose what's important and invest in that. And that money, if you go throw it into a house, it won't do anything. You'll be the guy that's living in the house, renting out 4 rooms, being like, I barely break even. This sucks. You're not able to scale and actually get to where you want to get. So, if I could go back with my money, I would have either went and found a coach that was actually serious about it, that would walk me through all of it, because I had all the energy and effort to give and whatever else. I just didn't have direction, and I didn't like watching YouTube videos all day. So I'd rather buy a house. I was told the house wouldn't cash flow and wouldn't do whatever, and I was like, I can afford that. Let me just buy it. So there's been subscriptions that I've done with AI and whatever. Like, okay, let me figure out how to use this. Like, I pay to learn. I pay the subscription. I pay the this thing. So if you had 10 grand, instead of going and looking for a deal or trying to, you know, do some Airbnb arbitrage shit or whatever else, like let me furnish an apartment and rent it out. And some of that's cool if that's where you want to get and you can get the experience of it. But I would actually put it to get more leverage out of anything else. And coaching gives you get to leverage someone else's knowledge for your money. Um, Go work for someone for free, but you pay the stuff. Like there's been times like you pay for your own flight. Like, hey, I want to, go work in DFW for a little bit. Like let's set up some podcast stuff and whatever. I'm not going to expect you to pay for stuff. I'm going to pay for it. That's your education expense. It's way cheaper than college. But that's what I would spend my money on, is actually looking for the opportunities. And then you just, okay, great. You got to do hotel, you got to do travel, you got to do whatever else. I paid money to go to Panama. I paid money to go to California and live out of a van. I was making good. I could have went and stayed in nice hotels and did all that, but I was like, no, like I'm going to spend money well as I'm going through this process, because I don't know how long it'll take. So that's what I would do with that.
So finding like a real estate coach.
Yeah,
So
either find a real estate coach, do some do some grunt work, as Army Talk would have it. Go to some real estate office and say, hey, can I just sit here and be your admin for a little bit? Like, oh, like, yeah, I'll go grab coffee. Can I go grab coffee for your office? Like, pay for it, then they'll talk to you. Like, that, it's mind blowing. Like, someone doesn't want to have a conversation with you, but if you're like, hey, can I grab coffee and drop it off at your office? I'll do all this. I just want 30 minutes. Like, that, if you do those, it's such a minimal cost over, great, here's a $5,000 coaching program. So, but just finding someone, and then again, I haven't paid for a lot of communities that I'm in because I worked around. The one real estate group, one of the real estate groups I'm in, I just invested in the community a bunch. So I paid for it the first time, then I invested in the community a bunch, and then they gave a free membership the second time. And so then I'm in there, and then I get access to all sorts of different stuff. And then they had a job opportunity to be a accountability coach through that. So then I got paid to be a part of that community. So I've paid for my entire time with them because of how I chose to give and show up to that.
yeah, so you really leverage your way.
It's
Wow.
it's not even chess. It's just a different. It's just different. It's no one does it, or at least they do it quietly. The masses don't do it. So, like for example, Keith, if you offered to be, because you can't take too much, but if you were like, hey, if there's any low level tasks or any whatever, I'll do it for free, no questions asked. Like basic, simple stuff. And then you just slowly, then you're on meetings with him. Hey, can I just shadow meetings? And I'll be a note taker. I'll summarize all your meetings. Cool, dude. Yeah, you can summarize my meetings. Give me some to dos after it. Great. That sounds awesome. Benefit for me. And then you get to be in rooms that people are paying for a subscription for. And then that's how you leverage that. You give to then get. And so again, I'm in the room with all the coaching stuff. I get the most access to the guy I'm working with that people paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for. I get the most access, and he pays me to get that access.
That's yeah. I might actually do that. It's a great
So,
idea.
and there's plenty of other people besides Keith and all over the place. So if one tells you no, just keep asking. I was in a room, I was at a retreat. I was at a retreat I wasn't supposed to be at. I've been in lots of rooms I'm not supposed to be in. I was too young to get the job at Nike. I was too, like, I technically didn't check all the boxes, but it just happened. So I've been fortunate with that. But then it's also just in the way that you show up and the eagerness and everything else. But I was at a wealth retreat. That again, I wasn't even an agent, but I was invited because I was in Denver. They're like, "Do you want to come? We're hanging out." I was like, "Sure." So I went and showed up and just like observed for kind of 2 days and just walked up to one of the guys that was ended up to be the California guy, and I was like, "Can I shadow you? You are like," I forget exactly what I said, but just kind of like, I'm impressed by the amount of balance. He balanced family, business. He was very successful in business and very, you could see how much he cared about his family. I was like, I want to learn those traits. Those are great. Is there anything I can do? Can I come out to California and just shadow? I don't expect you to take care of anything. I'll just show up and work and do whatever you need. And he was like, I'll think about it. And then we called a week later, and he's like, sure. And then I showed up the next day ready. So I drove down from Oregon, and I was ready. So just random stuff. Because the best way that I think about it is, once you make it to that spot, whatever you have as a goal, once you make it to wherever you want to be, real estate, you own all these places, you get 10 grand a month cash flow, you're doing all the stuff. Once you get there, what else is there? Oh, I would love it to, finding quality people is one of the hardest things. So if quality people just go and show up, and that's why, like, the guy that I'm working with now, like, you flew from Korea to show up here? Like, that was kind of one of our first interactions. Like, yeah. I was like, I'm looking for something. That actions speak differently. I'm not just another guy in the room saying, yeah, I want to do this. I'm like, I quit my job. I'm looking for all these things. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying all this. Like, this isn't convenient for me to be here. It's expensive for me to be here. Why am I here? Well, I'm looking for something else. And so just having that, you doing a podcast, it's great. Like you're already differentiating. And so then, and podcast is genius because you get to talk with people that would normally charge for their time. But then instead, people are like, oh, yeah, I'll jump on a podcast or whatever, because many people charge for their time. As I'm finding out, talking to all sorts of different, we have consultants that are $200 an hour that we pay. And it's like, I had the first 3 meetings with him for free because I was asking questions. And then it's like, oh, then we struck a deal. Then you start paying for it and whatever else, which is great. People need to be paid and all the other stuff. But just some of those things of how to actually leverage, because it is, for me, and the way I see it is knowing what's possible and seeing other people do things is really important. I thought again that there was the 5 jobs that you could have, the 5 career paths. Knowing that there's more, then I can actually go chase those. If I didn't know that there was more, I wouldn't have chased them. And so for you, hearing from different people that have done some different things, um, you can actually then start to chase those other areas.
How do you stay like so consistent with everything you do? Is there any like mindset?
You should tell my wife that. I am the most inconsistent person ever. What stuff do you mean consistent?
Just not losing motivation and wanting to give up.
Um, yeah. Well, here. So I moved 14 addresses in 5 years, and I think that was 10 jobs. And I did everything from work study to temporary technician to temporary contractor, full time, all the stuff. Um, and again, I'll go back to the sadness thing. Whenever I go like out to a bar or a club back in the day or whatever, and I just sit there and just look at all the idiots and go like, I always felt so isolated because I I envied them because I wished I could be happy with what they had, but I knew that that wasn't for me. I wished I could just go drink on a weekend and push through the next week and just look for the next weekend and the next party and the next thing, and that was good enough for me. But it wasn't at all. And so I just sat with that feeling of sadness, and then that will motivate you to do so many things. Like, okay, great, I don't want that. And whenever I felt like, I've never worked more in my life than what I've done the last 2 years. Quitting my job, I've never worked more after I quit. I work all the time. Um, but anytime that I don't want to work, I just go look at the other options. You know, just I just go look at other people and like they're like, oh yeah, I got this 9 to 5. Go meet the 65-year-old Walmart greeter that has to work the rest of their life. Like, no, thank you. And that usually does it for me. So and there's other options that would have been easier for 9 to 5 and whatever else, but I didn't want that. I didn't want to play chess. I've never dreaded a day of work working my current role, which I did even when I worked 10 hours a week making stupid money. So I make way less, I work way more, um, but I'm also progressing. Um, I feel like I'm progressing to my actual goal of getting assets. It's just the dollar value is less. But you also don't see as much of that when you're paying taxes and all the other crap. So they'll be like, "Oh, make 100,000." I'm like, "You mean like that's like 75,000 once you take away taxes?" And then you're in that area where if you run a business, you can. Anyways, there's all those other elements. It's all misconception. A lot of it is, at least.
If you could go back to when you were first like starting out and give yourself a piece of advice, what would it be?
Um, Starting out as an investor, starting out as like me as a college student before I dropped out, or starting.
Let's do the college student.
Yeah. Well, here you go. So I had my first girlfriend when I was my first and only girlfriend when I was 18. That went so horrible that I was single for 6 years until I got married. And granted, I dated a lot in between, but no one like I wanted to. I was only going to date to marry, and so looking at all that stuff. But I I got cheated on, and it was all that stuff. And then I was like, this sucks. And then I was in a college that I was failing at, which I'd always done well with school, and I didn't feel like I fit in. I didn't have a car at college, and I went to Klamath Falls, Oregon Institute of Technology, which is super small, not super. It was pretty depressing, honestly. I had two friends there, um, and all of that sort of stuff that wasn't great. But the sitting in sadness and going, like, what's the point of all this? Like, I don't really want to live. I don't like this is it just sucks. So I went through some stuff in high school and whatever. And it was just like, this just sucks. Um, and then with that, I was like, okay, if you take the fear away, if you could, okay, great, you can kill yourself now, but let's take a little spin on that and go, okay, if I can end it now, that means I can also end it later. What is something that if I couldn't fail, or if I did go and fail, that then there's shame and everything that comes with that, then I can just kill myself later. That was my mindset. And so through that, I was able to kind of get a fuck it mindset and go, okay, if this doesn't work, like, I want to go to other countries. That sounds fun. I want to go just go experience a little bit of life. I don't like my current everyday today stuff. What is something that I can go do? I started looking at jobs, and that's when I found something in Colorado. Let me just drop out of school and go there. If it sucks and I fail, I'll be right back to where I am right now mentally, and then I can end it then. And so that was able to take the fear away and take the shame and take the, because I felt a lot of pressure that I have to do what other people want. And so I was like, dropping out of college, like, there's so many things. People are going to ask all these questions and whatever. And one, it's never as bad as it always seems. But I went to Colorado, and I didn't have I didn't have any friends for 6 months. I had my virtual friends that I played my games with and whatever every once in a while. But I didn't have friends. And the benefit of that was I spent so much time with myself that I was like, oh, I'm actually kind of cool. I like myself. Like, that was the first time, because before I didn't. There's all the shame, there's all the eyeballs looking everywhere else, and that was a thing I'm empathetic and pull in from a lot of other people. So when people are around, I pull those and turn those inward. So back to your question on piece of advice, the biggest thing that kind of triggered that was you can always give a reason not to do stuff, and there's always pressure not to do things. But really try to figure out, follow your excitement, follow your curiosity. That's one of the most pure childlike instincts. I want to go to another country just because I want to walk around and see what people do there. Great. Okay. How am I going to make that happen? Well, I probably shouldn't kill myself here. Instead, let me go figure it out. When I was joining the military, it was like, okay, as you get older, doors will close. You can't choose to do a study abroad trip in high school. You miss that. You're going to miss other things. Doors are closing all around. You just don't see it. And I saw the military as a door. I was like, there's a heritage, history that people have. The military has been a part of human culture for so long. And so I wanted to experience that. There's a brotherhood to it. There's whatever else. I was like, either I can choose to experience this or not. But I need to make that choice now because I don't want to join it when I'm 30. So I was 19 when I joined. And so I was like, do I do this or not? And I was like, well, it's better than where I'm at. And it sounds exciting. So even if I hate it, like, I made the choice through excitement. And that's how I've kind of done all of mine. Like, you want to go to Panama and go live at a $10 hostel with cold water and go raise $4 million at the picnic table that you're putting into a venture? Like, sure, that sounds interesting. Like, I see the smile coming. Like, it just, why not? And so you start to get some of those things and then just follow it. And once the excitement dies and the curiosity dies, the sadness kicks in, for me at least, the isolation, and then the, okay, what's the next kind of thing I want to go do? And so then it's, where's the next excitement? What's exciting? What would be something I want to do if I couldn't fail? Like money will come and go. There's all the other stuff. Sure, prepare as best as possible, invest, all those things, but like at some point there's just the life aspect to it. So,
That's great. Thank you.
yeah.
That's- uh, well, I don't really have much else for you. Thank you for taking some time to speak with me.
Yeah.
What's what's next for you? What are you building now?
Uh AI stuff. All sorts of different. I love the world of AI. I'm starting to get into that some. But yeah, just we got a dog. We play pickleball. Trying to get my wife to do a Spartan race here in a couple months, so we'll go do that. And um, yeah, just I like where I'm currently at, and then there's a ton of stuff to build and grow. And I'm starting to build a team and learning actual management role of other people. Um, and that's the other thing. There just aren't rules. I was in business. I was told you're too young to be a manager. I was like, I hate that answer. Can you give me a different answer? So instead, like I showed up here and they're like, we'll put 5 people under you. Like, are you ready? I'm like, no. They're like, great. That means you're ready. Come on, I'll help you. So that kind of support's been really cool. And so I've looked a while for what I found here. So I'm enjoying it, and again, working a ton. Not always the best at my job, or everything's just new and changing and whatever else. But I don't know, just don't get caught up in all the little stuff. When we were in Michigan doing all the rehab, we went way over budget, got screwed over, did all that stuff. Um, but going through hard stuff with, newly married wife, fantastic. I highly recommend it. So just relationally in general, just really find what's important and jump into those. So, um, just trying the best to juggle everything I got.
Where can people find you and follow what you're doing?
Uh, oh yeah. If you drop a link, you got that link drop, my half-assed website there. And then, yeah, you can email me, I guess, ryanb769 at gmail, or you can text me at 720-924-1604. Both of those work as well. So,
This was great.
y-
We can talk again in the future.
yeah, likewise. I'd be happy to.